Hi everybody! Today's episode 1571 features video snippets from Glenn Beck, South Africa, also from John B. Wells, Signs, plus from Robert Gouveia, Democrats Plot, and wrapping up with Vince Dow, Letitia. Highlights begin today, May 23rd, 2025, at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Don't miss this great lineup.
Help keep free speech alive. Please join Murtech on Locals, Truth Social, and on X.
From Glenn Beck, the real reason the left denies genocide in South Africa.
From John B. Wells, Signs They Can't Deny.
From Robert Gouveia, Democrats Plot Podcast Takeover to Fight Right.
And from Vince Dow, Letitia James admits guilt as shocking new video evidence emerges on indicted Dem official.
Don't miss this great live stream with Murtech on Rumble tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. The link is in the description box below. Thank you for all your support and may God bless. Oh, by the way, don't forget to follow me and click the thumbs up button. Thanks again.
Hi, everybody. This is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on May the 23rd in the year of our Lord 2025. Happy Friday. Happy Memorial Day weekend. All right, let's jump over here on Murtech on Rumble. And let's see here. This is the video you're watching right now. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let me pause on Rumble. Close out the live chat, slide down here and open up the description box. We have information from Glenn Beck, John B. Wells, Robert Gouveia, and Vince Dow. Thought I'd share I have so much great information on Murtech.com. I picked these people out because, number one, they have great information, and to give you a little variety. I know I share Wendy Bell a lot, and I share Devoy Darkins and Dr. Steve Turley and others a lot. It's been a while since I've shared something from John B. Wells and Robert Gouveia, but I wanted to go ahead and share that. All right, I'm going to come over here and slide down here and put in looks like we got a comment here from somebody wanted to sell me something, I think. But let me go ahead and give a shout out to Ho Ho Ha, just started following my channel. And Jonas just started following my channel. Janosh. And You Digital Growth 56 just started following my channel. I think that's the person right down here that is trying to sell me some services. But at any rate, Ram Jr. Junior01 commented on my episode 1570. Kate Hobbs, it's been a while since I heard from her, but thank you, Kate, on my extra 356B. And You Digital Growth 56 commented on my episode 1571, which right down here it is. Okay, so I'm going to make a comment out of this. Just click this green button, and this is how easy it is to make a comment. You just come down here and write something in that little box and hit the comment button, and boom, there it is. It's like magic, I'm telling you. Okay? And right here is my thumbs up button. If you would slide down here and click that thumbs up button, that would be fantastic. Okay, let's see what Glenn Beck has to say about the real reason the left denies genocide in South Africa. Imagine that.
It's a bit of a PragerU.
Okay, let me get this back to the beginning for you and get this started.
Here's a bit of a Prager University video on South Africa.
White South African farmers are being hunted from their land by black gangs. Fact. And I had a young son at the time, and he would sometimes have nightmares about when the monsters would come, at nighttime. But in South Africa, that is when the gangs come, and they work together and they attack white farmers. And some of the things that happen to white farmers, we don't need to talk about here, but the barbarity, it isn't just about burglary, which gets filed away as. This is torture. And the numbers of white farmers being killed is incredible. And because South Africans have expropriation without compensation, which basically means we're taking your land. So I went and slept on the farms to feel the fear. White people are denied treatment in hospitals in South Africa. It's an extreme situation that no one will talk about.
It's a really bad situation. The reason why I want to play that for you is because I believe there is genocide going on, but not to the numbers, perhaps, of what people think of genocide. You know, CNN was like, there's only, 1,800 or 2,000 white farmers that have been killed in the last few years. I'm like, oh, well, that's it. Okay, so at least we know when genocide, what genocide is not, apparently under a couple thousand. Genocide is a frame of mind. You genocidal maniac. It is a frame of mind that I'm going to kill all of these people for whatever reason. This group of people, I think they should all die. And if you take steps to do that, that's genocide. You are trying to enact or help others enact genocide. Okay. We'll get back to South Africa and what I believe is the genocide, just not the way you frame it, 6 million Jews. It's not that. But it's anti-racism. That's what it is. You can't just not be a racist. You have to be an anti-racist. You have to hate the oppressor. You have to do whatever you have to do because the oppressor is the evil one and has to be stopped. This is what's happening over in South Africa. And it is a Marxist, racist ideology, and it is destroying South Africa. You look at the 2,000 white farmers, and I don't know if that number is entirely accurate, but around 2,000 white farmers that have been killed. Okay, that's a lot, but they had 27,000 murders in that country. Now they're a country of 60,000, 65,000. We're a nation of 350 million, and we had 19,000 murders. Okay, so think of the fear that's a country completely out of control. And some of those were passions and crimes of passion. They were crimes of burglary, perhaps. They were crimes just senseless killing, and some of them were genocide. Okay, you don't dismiss genocide, and you don't dismiss a system that is producing 27,000 murders on average every single year. For Father's Day, let your dad know he matters. Get him a gift from American Giant. They make clothing here at home with American cotton, American hands, and American heart. It's quality you can feel. This is what all of the things that when a government starts to adopt all of the things that the left wants us to adopt. The anti-racist point of view. The let's not punish criminals. Socialist Marxist ideals. Look at South Africa. That's what they want here. Now, they might say they don't, but, you can say, I'm going to put a bunch of bacon into my oven because puppy dogs are going to pop out. But you would believe whatever you want. You can say whatever you want, but that's not what's going to happen. And I want you to look at the pattern here in America, okay? What are these? The left now is defending murderers, gang members. Why? Because America is oppressive. They would rather have those guys returned safely so they can, I don't know, go through trial or live here happily or what, I don't know. They would rather have sanctuary cities that protect those people than you. That's not a winning strategy for the next campaign. It's just not. Going in and beating on police. I mean, just watch the video. You could say whatever you want about MacGyver, but if you watch the video, you see exactly what's going on. Okay. She was assaulting police officers, and then she was trying to play victim because remember, that's what you do on the left. You make the other person the oppressor and you're the oppressed, so you get all the sympathy. And it's insane, and it's happening over and over and over again. You had the two Jews last night gunned down in the streets of Washington. Who were they? Pro-Hamas, Marxist communist. Okay. You have something else going on. You also have the investigation into who is covering up for Joe Biden. The auto pin. Today, the news is we have listen to this, a high level Democratic operative that was involved in the campaign and involved with the White House that has come out now as a confidential whistleblower to identify the three people that were not only guarding all of the secrets and keeping people away from the president, which was bad enough. But this whistleblower now says they were making money on the signature machine, the auto pen. Excuse me? We now have a whistleblower saying that. This is going to be turned over to the DOJ very soon. You're going to see these three people tried and hopefully go to jail if that evidence is true. Today, you also have a story about the government knew. We now have a new report that is out after an investigation that the government knew about the vaccine side effects and the injuries that could happen, and they actively covered it up. You're going to see people marched in I think within the next 2 weeks, you're going to see people marched in handcuffs because of that. The cover up on the COVID. You're going to see people marching in handcuffs because of what happened in the White House and that cover up with the auto pen. You already saw MacGyver marching in handcuffs. So there's two forces. This is what I want to tell you. There are two forces. One, the United States government, which is now with the Justice Department and the FBI, seem to be moving in exactly the right direction. You have ICE moving in the right direction, and they are starting to enforce the law. Anti-racist, radical revolutionaries. Make no mistake, this is not your Democrat that you've known for years that lives next door. These are radical, revolutionary Marxists, communists, pro-Sharia law people. They do not want to live side by side by their neighbor. They do not want American justice to be restored. They're looking for an entirely different kind of justice, the kind of justice that you're now finding in South Africa. And I'm sorry, but I'm not on my watch. Not on my watch. I don't think you're going to stand for it either. But they're going to cause violence. What we have to do is, in every way possible, support the institutions that are moving in the right direction. Nobody's perfect. Nothing is perfect. And I don't trust any of the institutions right now. And I think George Washington would applaud me for that. But that doesn't mean I want them all to go into a fiery furnace. We have to have institutions that we can trust, or we have no civilization. You know, Jonah Goldberg, you're pathetic. You're absolutely pathetic. He wrote something yesterday about how, me and Alex Jones are just, all, populist, and we're gonna make sure that nobody believes in any institution. That is exactly the opposite of what I'm saying. But we're under attack. Voices like mine saying this. I'm under attack because people must have division. I'm saying do everything you can to stop dividing. Do everything you can. You've got to call a spade a spade. You got to say that is evil, that is good. That is black, that is white. You're a man, that's a woman. You have to do that. But they're going to start to get more and more violent in the next year or 2 years. Maybe it happens faster. And they're going to use everything they can. And they're going to they'll get into bed with anything they can. Do you know that the push for, people standing up and, protesting for these illegals that are being. Do you know that China's funding a lot of that? We just found that out today. You think they have a pro-American, pro-freedom agenda? Nope, but these organizations won't care. They'll take that money. They don't care. So we have to know who we are, what we believe. We have to know our Constitution. We have to teach it to our family. We have to stay calm, be leaders, and you're only leaders if you're well informed. Again, anybody who gets their news off of social media, the person who reads nothing has a better education than the people who only read social media. Do not get your news from social media. You can get a tip. You can say, oh, wow, that's it. But then go in and investigate it. Don't go with the headlines. Don't believe social media. And as we saw yesterday, all the people who are saying that this is a conspiracy theory about the whites and the farmers in South Africa, they're all the same people that told you there was nothing wrong with Joe Biden. So you have to decide what side you're on. And I know what side you're on. And, somebody came to me the other day. And they talked to me about you. And they said, your audience, and they know because they deal with audiences all over the country. And they said, your audience is different than any other audience in America. And I said, I know, but how do you see it? And they described it exactly like I do. You're the most honest, decent, kind, loving, true American that is not out for vengeance, but out for the American values. You're the most polite. You still say please, thank you. You still hold doors open for people. You clean up after yourselves. You'll have a big event in a park or something, and you'll clean up after yourself. There is no group of people, I think, that has been assembled for a broadcast that is like this. And I am honored to serve you every day. Truly honored to serve you every day.
Okay, let's move on from here. This does come from Glenn Beck. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. I thought that was great information, some inside information. Now, he's privy to a lot. He's got some good contacts, folks. He's privy to some information, and he wouldn't let that out if there wasn't some real evidence behind the information he provided us. Okay, let's get back here and check out John B. Wells. Okay, I'm going to start this. He has like midnight, caravan to midnight, and he has like a 4.5 hour, 5 hour broadcast in the middle of the night. But we're going to start out here, I hope, at the 47-minute mark. Signs they can't deny. Here we go.
Greetings, friends around the world, and welcome to the Caravan to Midnight DEFCON 1 prologue. Tonight, the return of Minister Fred Coulter. And in our conversation tonight, South Africa will feature prominently. It's taken a long time to get this fire burning as brightly as it's burning now. I'm happy to have had any part in it whatsoever. Many people who have been familiar with broadcasts I've been on, going all the way back to the Coast to Coast days, remember that I mentioned South Africa and how this country is scheduled to become just like South Africa. You know, that South Africa was the test bed, the model for what they wanted to happen here. Who are they? The globalists, of course. A couple of points. and a couple of corrections. Maybe a couple, maybe just one. The white crosses at that memorial, in fact, represent the murder of a Boer, B-O-E-R. Now, all Boers are not necessarily farmers. Certainly, there were many farmers represented by those crosses. I don't know how many. I don't know what percentage, but let's just hold on to that. The Boers are the original South Africans. Now, people will call them Afrikaans, they'll call them Afrikaners, they'll call them Boers, but there are distinctions. Okay, Afrikaans is basically the language. Afrikaners, South Africans, natives, born there, right, from whatever generation. The Boers are the descendants of the original Dutch with some French and some German that originally came to South Africa. So there's that. So all of those crosses represent a murdered Boer, whether that murdered person was a farmer or not. Okay, number two. You may have noticed a white man sitting very close to Cyril Ramaphosa during that little get-together with President Trump. That man is Johann Rupert, whose father, or I suspect grandfather, was Anton Rupert. The Ruperts are oligarchs. There are two oligarchs in South Africa. The other one is De Beers, you know, the jewelry outfit, gold, diamonds, stuff like that, primarily diamonds. So now the usual suspects have activated their contrarians to try and convince people that, oh, what you're hearing about South Africa is just rubbish. You see, this is another usual suspects generated and created takeover. It's a ruse. It is a lie. Those things are really happening. I have been there on many, many occasions, going all the way back to, let's just say, the 80s. It was really hot in the 70s, so let's just say the 80s forward. 16 years. From the beginning of 1984 until the end of 1999, when cigarette advertising was taken away from public spaces like, well, the radio, for example. Can't advertise on the radio anymore. Can't advertise on television. Can't advertise in the movie houses. Okay? So there's that. These things that you're hearing about South Africa are absolutely true. These mass murders all over the place, the crime rate is off the charts. But when President Trump directed his operator to show that piece of video with Julius Malema going, kill the farmer, and all the other demonically inspired nonsense that he was spewing, Johann Rupert was very, very unhappy. If you get a chance to watch the video again, just look over there close to the president. You'll see a man grimacing. That would be Johann Rupert. Now, just in time, another component of the overall usual suspect agenda, we have the shooting of diplomats. They were aides at first, now they're diplomats. Okay, that's fine. Oh, and by the way, Julius Malema is a stakeholder / shareholder in the corporation that is South Africa, registered in Washington, D.C. The so-called president, Cyril Ramaphosa, is listed as a spokesperson. And what a brilliant job he did, right? Now let's go to the shooting in D.C. Police identify suspect in shooting of Israeli diplomats. President Trump issues statement. This is from 100% Fed Up by Danielle. Police tentatively identified 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, Illinois, as the suspect in the shooting of two Israeli diplomats near the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. Okay, initial reports were that they had attended an event at the Jewish Museum. Okay, police said the suspect chanted "Free, Free Palestine" while in custody. The Calvin Coolidge Project put out on X just now, the D.C. Chief of Police has identified 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, Illinois, as the person who killed two Israeli embassy staff members tonight in D.C. Okay, so which is it, staff members or diplomats? Maybe they're the same thing. She confirmed that he yelled "Free Palestine" while in custody. From The Guardian. A suspect is in custody following the shooting, which took place shortly after 9 p.m. near the Capitol Jewish Museum, police have told a press conference. Police Chief Pamela A. Smith said a preliminary investigation showed that both victims were exiting an event that had been taking place at the museum when the attack took place. The suspect in custody was believed to be the only person involved. The mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, bark, bark, woof, woof, said there was no active shooter situation. Okay, So it just says the same thing over and over again. Here's a quote from President Trump. These horrible DC killings based obviously on anti-Semitism must end now. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA. Condolences to the families of the victims. So sad that such things as this can happen. God bless you all, President Trump. Okay? From the Times of Israel. Washington, D.C., Police Chief Pamela Smith says that despite all life-saving efforts, both victims succumbed to their injuries. She says both victims were exiting an event at the museum. Quote, prior to the shooting, a suspect was observed pacing outside of the museum, she says, adding that he opened fire at a group of 4, killing a man and woman. All right. The suspect chanted, "Free, free Palestine," while in custody. The suspect has been identified as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, Illinois. Okay. The couple that was gunned down tonight in the name of Free Palestine was a couple about to be engaged. So they were dating, says Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Yeshiel Leiter, adding that the man had bought a ring last week with the intention of proposing next week in Jerusalem. Okay? Does anyone find the timing of this? I don't know if this couple that were about to be engaged, they were just attending an event at the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. They're diplomats, embassy staff members. They were gunned down by a man with an Hispanic last name of Rodriguez, Elias, or maybe Elias, or maybe Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, gunned them down, yelling, "Free, free Palestine." Because of all the, shall we just say, state of Israel blowback of late, I personally find this timing a little curious. I'm not saying that this did not happen. What I am saying is that the initial video showed this guy standing there. I couldn't tell if he just had his hands to his sides or if they were behind his back, but in any case, he's standing there looking at somebody recording video, and he's saying something. And there's one policeman kind of tugging him. He's behind him, kind of like he's trying to pull him through a door. Now, in other videos and photographs, you see lots of police standing around. So I don't know when those were inserted or from what event, because the lighting is just a little bit different. So knowing that this so-called Hannibal directive, I think they call it, of sacrificing their own people in furtherance of achieving the larger goal, would not surprise me in the least if this was arranged by the usual suspects. See, it's still happening. It's just a localized Holocaust. Okay. Nicely played. But I'm just saying, I find the timing extraordinarily curious. I really do. Because people are waking up to the fact that, well, the state of Israel is a completely rogue state. And the tentacles of the usual suspects reach all around the world. You heard the man, what was it, last night? Yeah. Talking about the Rothschild connection. Now, these people are serious. They're real serious. And they will not be dissuaded. They will not be quelled. They will not be stopped. They simply won't. While they prosecute the repair of the world. I just don't know exactly which world they're referring to when they talk about repairing it.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. Now, I like John B. Wells. I really do. He used to be on Coast to Coast. I listened to him on the radio at night. I'd turn it on. Of course, I'd fall asleep after work. But, if I would wake up, hear him talking, he has great information. He has a lot of connections, too. This information that I have here is shared directly from John B. Wells. And if we come over here to Murtech.com, right down here, we have Glenn Beck. Right there's Glenn Beck, and John B. Wells is right down here. So these are videos that I have on Murtech.com. I post on Murtech.com directly from the producer. If you click on the producer's name, which is in red here, if you click on that, it's going to take you right to his page, okay? So I sharing this information out. I put Murtech.com together so that people can have a place to come to so that they can get boatloads of truth here. This is not like a social media platform that Glenn Beck was warning you about. These are people that have put in the time to research this information and put it out to you. Okay? All right. Let's get back here to John B. Wells, and I'm going to click on this Rumble link and show you this video.
Because the tentacles of that particular crew are very, very long. And once they wrap around something, it's really hard.
Let me pause this here. Yeah, this video does come from John B. Wells. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's get back here to my agenda or my layout. Robert Gouveia, Democrats plot podcast takeover to fight right. Okay, well, let's see how that works.
Influencer program. Gosh, Democrats trying to build up an infrastructure on social media. They want to counter Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and all the people on the right who are analyzing the news and bringing value in the form of truth to the population. Democrats can't do that because they're liars and cheaters and partisan hacks. And so now what they're trying to do is astroturf this new movement, just like they tried to astroturf Kamala's entire existence and Joe Biden's entire presidency. So here is the report from the New York Times saying at private gatherings now, the Democrats are trying to counter the GOP clout online. Strategists and donors are swapping ideas to help the party capture that digital mojo that helped Trump win. Saying here, 6 months after their crushing defeat, and it's getting worse for them, the party's mega donors are being inundated with overtures to spend tens of millions of dollars to develop an army of left-leaning online influencers. At donor retreats and in pitch documents seen by the New York Times, liberal strategists are pushing the party's rich backers to reopen their wallets. Let's get a bunch of new Democrat projects going. And as the cliche goes, they want to find the next Joe Rogan, which is hilarious because they already had Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was like a Bernie Sanders supporter, lived in California until the Democrats went nuts. The proposals, the scope of which has not been previously reported, are meant to energize glum donors and persuade them that they can compete culturally with Trump. If only they can throw enough money at the problem. We'll see if that works for them. Yeah, how much money did they throw at Kamala Harris? Like millions. They had all those dancers shaking their butts on stage and everyone's like, you don't want that in the White House. Democrats widely believe they must grow more creative in stoking online enthusiasm, but they're not creative people. They're not entertaining. They're not insightful. They're not funny. They have no real sense of humor. They're just mad at everybody and miserable, most of them, and just regurgitate talking points that other people write for them. They'll sound the same, particularly in less outwardly political forums like sports or lifestyle podcasts. Yeah, and try to have a conversation with one of them. Many now take it as gospel that Trump's victory last year came from YouTube, TikTok, podcasts, Fox News. The quiet efforts amount to an audacious, skeptics might say desperate, bet that Democrats can just buy more cultural relevance online. It's like if they spend enough money, people are going to be like, you know what? It's true. We should chop genitals off our kids. Let's just chop them all off. Yeah, that makes sense. And everybody's going to be like on board with that. Despite the fact that casually right-leaning touchstones like Rogan's podcast were not even built by political donors, didn't rise overnight. Wealthy donors tend to move in packs. And some jaded liberals worry that the excitement could cause money to flow into projects that are not fully fleshed out. They argue that the latest pitches on the left are coming from operatives who are hungry to meet the demand for just a shiny new object. In a break from the past, some of the Democrats and their new ventures are for-profit companies. And so far, there are still more ideas than hard committed money. One Democrat operative described compiling a spreadsheet of 26 active projects related to creators, right? Over a dozen of which are new since November. And the right has this, by the way. Like the right has tons of money that pour in to set up infrastructure and create narratives. And I'm not saying the right does not have that, but the right also has a lot of organic people who've been doing this work and built a reputation for decades. And now they're just going to go hire somebody. You're going to see it, man. You're going to see a lot of these things pop up. How did that podcast get so big? How come that woman is so popular all of a sudden? Everybody's writing articles about her. It's going to be one of these. Saying November, 26 active projects, but a few of the efforts have ties to major donors that could give them liftoff. It needs to start with a legitimate investment, someone said. There has to be something that's happening organically as well. First out of the gate has been this group called Chorus, coming from Brian Tyler Cohen, and his channel is giant. He gets a ton of views. They have big channels on YouTube. Like their YouTube game is not bad, by the way. They've got a lot of power on YouTube. But others have stayed under the wraps until now, but it's going to be coming soon. In November, Miss McBride and other liberal operatives gathered in Washington for a series of meetings to survey the election wreckage. One of the largest donor networks eventually hatched a plan called Achieve Narrative Dominance, called AND Media. Achieve Narrative Dominance, okay? So arm yourselves for this, because it is coming. National dominance. The company, incorporated in March, says it's aiming to raise, that was me, not you. It is aiming to raise $45 million over the next 4 years. That's a lot. Oh my gosh. The group hopes to have $70 million budget over that time frame based on predictions of $25 million in revenue. It says it's raised $7 million so far. Miss McBride and Christian Tom, who led digital strategy for the Biden White House, have pitched the company to the American Bridge Project donors. They say, we're going to move away from the current didactic hall monitor style of Democrat politics. It turns off younger audiences. It's like embarrassing. It's like pathetic. You get scolded. You listen to some of these younger creators too. They like to scold you. It's like, wow, that's offensive. And I'm like, oh gosh, it's old. It's like a younger person with a Democrat skin on them, and it doesn't, or you're taking a Democrat and putting a younger skin on it, and it doesn't sell. Says they're going to be linking deals with our flagship creators and more. Another effort with ties to major donors is called Project Bullhorn, meant to pool contributions to back creator projects. Advised giving Eric Schmidt, a billionaire, a bunch of money. They're going to raise $35 million in the first year. Like, this is them building up, right, for 2028. An early recipient of the money will back left-leaning creators on YouTube. He's largely trying to amplify existing influencer networks. Like, another will be a matchmaking service to book creators on YouTube shows and podcasts. Like, could you imagine? What if we had some billionaires on the right that were like, hey, Rob, your show's good. We want to 10x it with you, and we're just going to give you $1 million to do that. Do you imagine? But you got to use it for advertising and growth and marketing. We're just going to give you $1 million. We believe in what you're doing. It's a good deliverable for our side. No strings attached, stuff like that, right? Just to achieve narrative dominance. Like, could you imagine flagship creators? Be crazy. We grow so fast. You just dump that all into ads and, marketing. And that's like what they're doing. So just watch that happen. All of these programs are somewhat similar. They're going to compete for scarce capital. Democrat strategists and fundraisers say that major liberal donors are still being stingy with their money. On top of that, they broke because they gave it all to Kamala. Mr. Flaherty, who was in the White House screaming at people who weren't censoring you on social media, is also advising Project Echo, a new 4-year, $52 million influencer program. Gosh! A progressive nonprofit group. The group is spending about $10 million of its own money and pitching donors for the rest. A program called Double Tap Democracy is working with 2,000 mostly apolitical creators to turn them into political creators. This is bad, man. The project was started by Rachel Irwin, who led a $30 million influencer program, but there was tension during the campaign. Some donors wanted it to be even bigger. Mr. Irwin incorporated Double Tap late last year. She received an initial grant of 250 Gs. She argued others in the party did not invest earlier enough. We need to get our money in. Aides to liberal donors like George Soros and Lauren Powell Jobs held an ideathon in February. This month, about 50 digital operatives presented their proposals in a hotel in Texas, and they're coming in hard. Mark Gallagher, a private equity veteran, also a Democratic donor, invited contributors there. And Flaherty, who is the former Harris strategist and White House hack, I think, who has been at donor events, said emulating the right success will take some time. The key is building off what's already resonating and investing in it. If it all goes into more tools for delivering poll-tested messaging, it'll fall flat. At that point, you might as well just buy ads. Yeah, which is what they tried to do with Kamala. But yeah, this is interesting. This is going to be very interesting to watch. We're going to see this pop up time and again. You're going to see some, when you have $100 million going into the medium, into online creators, that's going to go far. So we're going to see what happens there. But be apprised, the Democrats not going to lie down on this one. They got a lot of money and they're going to use it.
Okay, there you have it. So that's something to look forward to. Not only will we have to listen to their lies on network television, but we'll also have to listen to their lies on YouTube, possibly Rumble too. Rumble will allow them to lie because it's pretty much a free speech platform. They don't censor people. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Robert Gouveia. I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's get back here and come down here to Vince Dow. Letitia James admits guilt as shocking new video evidence emerges on indicted Dem official. Okay, let's take a listen.
Residence, because she's the sitting attorney general of New York, so that would be impossible. So people discovered this and they said, hey, you committed mortgage fraud. And it's not like, oh, I accidentally signed off on a document or something. Again, guys, she granted the power of attorney, explicitly so, by the way, granted power of attorney, okay? to go out and do this. By the way, she claims to be an attorney general, right? She's a prosecutor. She's supposed to know the law, and she just allegedly here, we're supposed to believe, carelessly signed off power of attorney. I mean, I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense. And by the way, when you consider the charges and the legal justification she used against Donald Trump in that civil lawsuit, gets even more hilarious. But anyways, at the time of the 2023 Norfolk, Virginia property purchase and mortgage, Miss James was the sitting Attorney General of New York and is, of course, yes, required by law to have her primary residence in the state of New York, even though her mortgage applications list her intent to have the Norfolk, Virginia property as her primary home. This is, again, the central allegation. And yeah, this seemed to me like a case like where, okay, if she did that and there's reasonable evidence to assume it wasn't some type of forgery or a mistake, then she's guilty, right? That's mortgage fraud. It's pretty straightforward, okay? And here's where it gets even deeper. It might be one thing if this was one isolated case that Letitia tried to get away with, but the original investigation here also alleges that James bought a 5-family property in Brooklyn in 2001 with a loan that is only available for homes with 4 units or less. So already, right, just residence fraud. Tried to secure a loan for the primary residence. That doesn't really work. But now apparently, right, even on the case of a 2001 situation, she has a long history of doing this. So are we supposed to believe somehow that the Virginia thing was one isolated accident? So throughout the course of her life, she just was accidentally committing mortgage fraud? Oh, I just signed stuff carelessly. Even though, by the way, I work in law. Like, you would think this is someone who should know, and by the way, does know what power of attorney means. That's something you do carefully. It's not something you just, sign the form, oopsie doopsie. It's not like the iOS terms and conditions that everyone reads past. I think even non-lawyers understand power of attorney is something you be careful about. You're very precise about it. Okay. Anyways, here you go. Spanning the last 2 decades, Miss James has consistently misrepresented the same property as only having 4 units in both building permit applications and numerous mortgage documents and applications. It appears that Miss James may have listed the Brooklyn, New York property as 4 units instead of 5 in order to meet the conforming loan requirements and thus receive better interest rates. So isn't that so interesting? This is something, again, through the entire course of her life, she has not stopped doing, okay, on many different cases. And notice, very interestingly here, right? If she's going to say it's a mistake every single time, the mistake always happens in order to secure her a better mortgage rate. Yeah, what are the odds of that? No, we know exactly what's going on here. So again, here, I think the central question is basically just, because this seems pretty clear cut. I think you would all agree. Now, the real central question around Letitia James is this report true? Is the investigation accurate, or is there more to the story or whatever? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. First of all, I just want to list this last piece of allegation against her. It's also alleged that James and her father signed mortgage documents in 1983 stating that they were husband and wife. Okay, so that's, again, I don't know what it is with Democrat politicians and doing this type of stuff, because I can think of a friend she might have up in the state of Minnesota who did something very similar. But yeah, okay, so Miss James, for both properties listed above, appears to have falsified records once again for the 3rd separate isolated time in her life. I guess every single time. It's just a mistake. It's just misfiling, right? Appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms, Polt concluded, adding that it could lead to charges such as wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, along with making a false statement to a financial institution. Okay, so all of that in mind, again, kind of understanding here, these are the allegations, and I will reiterate, I think the only question is, well, did she do it or did she not? Right? It should be pretty straightforward. Again, all Letitia James has said about this thus far is it's baseless. Literally her words, it's baseless. So I responded to it by saying, okay, I understand at the current moment that perhaps, it's an ongoing criminal case, ongoing investigation. You don't want to comment on that. You don't want to accidentally incriminate yourself. I understand all that. But I also notice how everyone in the, for instance, liberal news media who's calling the whole thing politicized and baseless has not actually explained why. They're not breaking down the facts of the case. Why? Because the facts of the case, as we laid out, do not bode well for Letitia James. Finally, in a recent talk, it would appear she accidentally let her loose lips get the best of her because she finally addressed the actual allegations themselves beyond calling them baseless And take a listen here as Letitia James does something very interesting, right? She admits that she did it. She admits that this all happened. Okay, it was not false. It was not a matter of, oh, the investigation got it wrong, like this never happened. No, in fact, as it pertains to this Norfolk, Virginia residence, she did indeed use the power of attorney to claim this as her primary residence that her niece was supposed to be living in. But her excuse now is the entire thing, including down to the fact that she did the power of attorney on this, was just one gigantic mistake. It was just a big oopsie. But she is indeed admitting here that it did happen. It's not a fake allegation. Take a listen to that for yourself.
As you know, we filed a lawsuit against the former Donald Trump and his family. We secured $454 million judgment against him, which is on appeal. The case is on appeal. I have no idea when that case will be decided. This investigation into me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless. It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia, but prior to that, I had indicated to the mortgage broker that, in fact, in bold cap letters, that I am not a resident of Virginia and never will be. And in the mortgage application, I indicated that I would not live in Virginia and I was not a resident. They just took the power of attorney and they're using that as a basis for enforcement for their investigation, when in reality, power of attorney was never used to determine my eligibility for a mortgage for my niece for a home in the state of Virginia. My niece who has children, and because I looked it on, I wanted her to have a home.
So again, there she is on camera, literally admitting that she did this. She did indeed claim Norfolk as her primary residence. Now she's claiming it's an accident. She uses the word mistakenly. But it's not so baseless, Letitia, if you literally did it. You literally did do it. And now we're apparently supposed to assume, we're supposed to sit here and pretend as if you, the Attorney General of the state of New York, apparently does not understand power of attorney, is careless, or just doesn't think to themselves, hey, especially when I'm pursuing a high-profile legal case against Donald Trump, maybe I should be very careful, make sure all my books are up to date. Nope, apparently not. And by the way, in regards to the Brooklyn residence of the marrying her dad back in 1983 or whatever, apparently we're just supposed to believe over the long course of her life, she continually keeps on like accidentally signing things wrong, screwing up documents to accidentally receive Freddie Mac and favorable mortgage loans and terms and all this stuff just over and over again. And how dare the Trump administration even look into it? Yeah, well, Letitia, okay, we're going to reiterate this. You said on camera you did indeed claim that as your Norfolk residence. That's your primary residence. Okay, what does that strongly indicate? Guilty. Your case in court, really, Letitia, is going to somehow come down to all these repeated instances of the same exact behavior with the obvious same exact intention. It was all just a mistake. It was all just a mistake. Well, of course, it gets even more ironic when you consider the fact, let's not forget, guys, the very lawsuit, the very civil charges that Letitia James brought against Donald Trump, because you remember what it was all about, right? It was about real estate fraud. And in that case, I would argue it was a gigantic stretch, right? Let's take that trip down memory lane. In September of 2022, as you can see here, James filed a significant civil lawsuit against Trump and the Trump organization, accusing them of engaging in a decade-long scheme of financial fraud. Really, Letitia? And let's remember this, right? The lawsuit alleged that Trump and his family fraudulently inflated the value of assets, including properties like Mar-a-Lago, the Trump Tower, and 40 Wall Street, to do what? Why did they inflate the value of these assets, guys? To secure favorable loan terms and insurance rates while minimizing tax obligations. Oh, isn't that so interesting, right? You may remember this. The suit claimed over 200 false and misleading asset valuations in Trump's annual financial statements. And guys, let's also remember, how much did they have to stretch to get anything? This is where they were just trying to argue back and forth on the personal valuation of Mar-a-Lago, right? How much is Mar-a-Lago worth? Letitia said it was worth a small amount. I forget the exact numbers now, but I think it was like something, what did she say? It was like 5 million. Trump said it was like 100 million. There was a big disagreement on it. But okay, in February 2024, the judge the crooked judge here, ruled in favor of James, ordering Trump and his companies to pay over $450 million in disgorgement and penalties, blah, 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 blah. Trump's response, of course, was to deny wrongdoing. He called the case politically motivated and here labeled James's actions as a witch hunt. He argued that banks conducted their own valuations and were satisfied with the terms, and he has maintained innocence throughout the appeals process. So again, what did Letitia James come to Trump with? Oh, I disagree personally with your valuation of Mar-a-Lago, and I'm going to abuse that. Okay.
All right, let's pause that there, and he's absolutely right. In fact, you can go to the bank. You know, I could go to the bank and say, hey, my house is worth $3 million. I want to get a loan on it. And they'll say, well, we're going to have it appraised, and we'll loan you. Normally, on an investment property like that, you'll get 70% of what the appraised value is. Now, another part of that is she was complaining that his value at the bank, his appraised value, was much higher than the state's tax assessed value. And it is. Yeah, the state or county, wherever you pay your taxes, they assess your property and base your taxes on that. And the assessment of your property is far, far below what the actual street value or appraised value is. Now, luckily, they do it that way so that they don't gorge you, except maybe in California and New York. The assessed value might be a little bit closer to the actual street value. But that's what that was all about. And the people that loaned him the money, the banks that loaned him the money, testified in his case and said there was no fraud here. He paid the money back with interest. In fact, we would like to do business with him again. But as Vince said, there was a crooked judge. So he went along with that. Utterly amazing. Okay, let's scroll down here and you can see that this does come from Vince Dow. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's come over here to Murtech.com. And I've got a little bonus here from, I listen to Wendy Bell generally every day, and she had a snippet on here, one of her segments that I thought you'd be interested in. So I want to go ahead and play this up. See, we're here at Murtech.com. I'm going to slide right down here to Wendy Bell, and you can do this too. The link to Murtech.com is in the description box. And folks, I don't make any money, okay, if you come here to Murtech.com. I don't have any advertisement. I'm not doing this to sell something. I'm doing this to provide information for people, okay, because we've been lied to enough. Let's see what Wendy has to say. If this will get going, it would be wonderful.
Back on the Wendy Bell radio program. So what's in this big bill that they narrowly passed by one vote? Does it matter to you? Is it going to be a big deal if the Senate gets off it? Well, we'll go there next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Okay, that's amazing. I thought I had this slide.
Right?
Yeah, she's recouping.
Yeah, let me
what did she have done?
Let me back this up. Sorry.
It's going to freaking.
Come on. You can do it.
Happy Memorial Day.
With every we're gonna win more. 3 hours of
the clock. One of the things I enjoy doing on this show is finding snippets of audio that I don't think you're going to find other places unless you're really pouring through social media. It's not the stuff that's going to get covered on the networks. It's not the stuff that's going to make headlines all over the place. And this guy you probably have never even heard of before, Antonio Gracias, is the person who I'm speaking of in this next segment. Now, this is a guy who's uber wealthy. He's a multi-billionaire. I guess he's worth a couple bill. And he's a big investor into Tesla. He's friends with Elon Musk. He's gone on to do other things, right? And he's been tasked, I guess, by Elon to be a part of the Department of Government Efficiency. And so here you go. You have a guy, business guy, loaded, who's like, you know what? I'm going to step aside from my busy life. And I'm going to get involved, and I'm going to get involved in the Social Security aspect of fraud in the federal government. And he has traveled all over the country. He's investigated various things. He's been to the border. They've monitored how many people have been given Social Security numbers, how many people have gone on to get driver's licenses, who've then gone on to parlay that into being able to vote, to register, and yes, cast votes in our elections. So people out there were like, that's not happening. Illegal immigrants aren't being brought in here to, beef up the voter rolls for one party or another. Is patently false. And I wanted to tell you what this guy said. You guys have heard us talk about Chamath Palihapitiya, these other David Sachs, who's now part of the administration as well. Uber wealthy dude, Silicon Valley, whatever the hell they do. Very, very wealthy. And they have this podcast. There's 5 of them, and it's called All In. And they have Antonio Gracias on. He's not a regular participant. But they ask him, come on, we want to ask you some questions about the things that you found in your capacity at Doge. Before I tell you what he says, before we play the audio, I want to read you a little bit about who this cat is. University of Chicago trustee and multi-billionaire Antonio Gracias, a close friend of Elon Musk, has been tasked with targeting what he called tremendous fraud at the Social Security Administration. All right. So he is, I guess, this close friend of Elon, Tesla, and SpaceX. He now serves as a senior advisor to President Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. Gracias campaigned with Musk in Wisconsin on March 30th, did all this stuff. He gave money to Dave McCormick's campaign here in Pennsylvania. He's given money to Democrats. Believe he's a Democrat, right? Gave $500,000 to Joe Biden in 2020, right? So this guy is kind of all over the spectrum, but he's a Democrat. And so the All In podcast guy of rich guys, they have him come on and they're like, look, tell us what you found about Social Security fraud and about migrants, about the reason why the border was open. And he dropped something that I believe is the biggest black eye on this country. It's bigger than anything else. Audio soundbite number 1. Antonio Gracias, working as basically an extension of Doge, says we gave billions and billions of dollars to human traffickers who enslaved people from other countries who thought they were coming here for a better life. Listen to this.
But you got to realize we gave $13 to $15 billion a year to the human traffickers. That's what this system did. And the money magnet that attracted these people here, it wasn't like it was some crisis, environmental crisis. The money magnet attracted these people, and many of them died on the way up. I mean, think about what that's like. Think about the human crisis. So this is a human
suffering, a human rights tragedy. You have people who are getting sold into slavery and being abused at the border. At a minimum, every American should be against that.
Everyone is. Every American is. Look, man, this turned my stomach. When I went to the border and I heard the stories, it turned my stomach, man. We are America, okay? We protect people like this. We don't give incentives to people to pay traffickers. If you pay $20,000, I heard $20,000 to $500 just across the border, $20,000. I mean, where does someone who's coming from Central America or Africa get $20 grand to pay the traffickers that are walking them across the border? It's not free to walk up Mexico, okay? It's controlled by the cartels. What happens? I mean, they got to pay that back. How do they pay it back? They're basically indentured servants. This is terrible. This isn't what we do in this country.
So parents in other countries hoping to give their children a glimpse of an opportunity, scrounge together whatever they have, or become basically indentured slaves of the people who get their kids across the border, and then have to pay off their debt by using their children as basically the human collateral, who are traded then into sex, who are traded then into work horrible jobs. I mean, obviously, we know there are more than 300,000 missing migrant unaccompanied children in this country. And Antonio Gracias is asked by one of these guys on this All In podcast, can you speak to the veracity the allegations that Democrats wanted the border open specifically so they could get these migrants across and make them Democrat voters. Did you find evidence of that, Antonio?
Right? This country is about freedom, and we are here to protect it. We protect it around the world, protect it in our home country. And I don't think any American that I know, none of them, Democrats, Republicans, or anyone, thinks this is good. It's not good. It's bad for America, and it's evil behavior. We shouldn't send it. We shouldn't give people a reason to do it. We should find legal ways people come in the country. And
Antonio,
I think that's the way to come together.
Do you believe that there is a Democratic Party motive to increase voter base for the Democrats behind all of this, as has been proclaimed by some?
Look, as I go through the data and I see it's all about the data. Okay, David, and I know you love the data. When you have just in a handful of states, man, I'm talking about 4 states. We looked at the voter rolls. We found these people, thousands of them on the voter rolls, and we found many of those people had voted. Right, in one state in particular, well over 1,000 voted. Yeah, I think this was a move to import voters.
Yes, I think this is a guy who has traveled to the border, who's traveled all across this country, who's gone over all of the information, who's exposed that 270,000 illegals are getting Social Security benefits, et cetera, and how many of them voted. And he's confirming, yes, it's all a play to increase the Democrat voter rolls. Wait, what? So now wait a minute. Antonio Gracias, in your role as a Doge extension, in Democrat circles, is it widely known that they're beefing up the voter rolls, or is it just a few puppet masters controlling the strings? What is it?
Do I think that the average person is a Democrat in Illinois, or the guys I knew, I grew up in Chicago, they know this? They don't know this. They don't know this. So were there people at the top of the system that did this? Yeah. People created this policy. The former administrators of these agencies created these policies. I've seen them. I've read them myself. I've gone to the data myself. They've seen them. Now, this isn't everybody. If you're the average person out there who's a Democrat and you see what I've seen, I believe you'll conclude what I concluded, which is this isn't right. These policies are wrong. They're evil. They're wrong. We gave an incentive for people to get trafficked. That's terrible. I just don't think people know. The reason I'm even willing to do all, you guys know me, I'm pretty private. I come on your podcast because we're buddies. But the reason I'm talking about this is not political. It's because it's a human rights issue, and the human rights issue is being confused. We are incenting people to pay traffickers to come to America. We were doing this, right? We got to find better ways to do that.
Now, you know what? Who wasn't covering this? Who doesn't want to talk about this? Anybody in the legacy media. Anybody in the captured, controlled, co-opted legacy media. Why not? I mean, think about it. Is there a single thing that the Democrat Party, liberal, progressive ideology in general, that they represent that's good for you, that's good for your family, that's good for your kids, it's good for strangers, it's good for the economy, that's good for your safety, that's good for the military, that's good for the less advantaged, that's good for homeless veterans? Do they do a damn thing that ever benefits you? Do they ever do a damn thing that is ever altruistic, that is ever what they say it is? No, they don't. The Trump administration Thursday unrolled a new federal verification tool to ensure that only U.S. citizens can vote in elections. This at Newsmax.com. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services updated its systematic alien verification for entitlements program. It's called SAVE. And they partnered with the Social Security Administration to guarantee a single reliable source for verifying immigration status and U.S. citizenship. That's the final nail in the coffin, ladies and gentlemen. All of this, bringing over 20 million people, even if just 20% of them can get through and become registered voters and vote in elections and vote as Democrats. Democrats were willing to roll the dice on that. That's what they wanted. Trump just took it away. We have a tool. We're going to be able to test everybody. If you are an illegal and you've come to this country and you haven't gone through the system, you haven't waited your turn, you haven't taken the classes, you have no interest in assimilating in our country, and we know that you don't, you will not be able to vote in our elections. Final nail in the coffin for the Democrat Party, because that's what the last 4 years were about. If you can't win because you've got suck candidates, and you can't win because you have suck messages, and you can't win because you hate America, well, there's only one thing to do: Open up the turnstiles. Let them in. And while they're at it, we'll traffic some, make some cash along the way. Disgusting. And President Trump is all over it. When we come back on the Wendy.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. Let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, getting back to my description box here, where I have the original 4 videos that I shared with you and the bonus from Wendy Bell. We're running a little bit over, but I think that the information from Wendy is always good information, and it's worth a few minutes extra to hear what she has to say, because you know what? The Democrats, the left wings, whatever, may be pouring millions upon millions of dollars into podcasts, but they're going to be telling the same lies in these podcasts as they are every place else. You know, when they speak on MSNBC or CNN or whatever, they're lies, and people are starting to see through this. Like this multi-billionaire, he's like, whoa, I didn't know this was happening. And he doesn't think that the other people, you know, in the Democrat Party, as far as politicians are concerned, don't know it's happened. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of regular Democrats that don't know that this happened, but I'm sure there's a lot that do and are just closing their eyes to it because they don't give a shit as long as the Democrat's in office. Unbelievable. And that's why I'm sharing this information out from all these different people. The links to their videos are right here in the description box. I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out. I'm doing it so people can have the information that they're not going to get on the mainstream media. Okay, let's come back over here. And again, let me check out the live chat. And yes, we do have some live chats. Glenn has it right. That's right, Real News DFW. Okay, I'm going to copy in this into, hello. Copy this into a comment because I think these live chats are important part of this video. Copy this in here, boom. And again, well, I don't need that in there. Okay, again, just click this comment button and boom, there it is. There it is. It's like magic. Let me give a thumbs up here to my previous comment. There we go. Okay. Now, let's check this out. It looks like I've had 134 people watch this so far. I've got 30 people watching right now, and I've got 3 thumbs up. So, you know, if I could get 27 of you to slide down here and give me a thumbs up, that would be fantastic. I would greatly appreciate that. Okay, getting back here to Murtech.com. This is, again, your one-stop shop for no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. The kind of information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. So I do want to thank you for being with me tonight. I will have a daily news wrap-up starting about 9:30 or so, here in about 23 minutes. Hopefully you can join me there. But again, I do want to thank you for your time. Please share this information out with your friends, contacts, and family members so they too can know where to come to get the truth. And it's not just me, folks. That's why I have over 55 videos here at Murtech.com. There are more than 55 different places for you to get the truth. So it's a free site. The information's free. The truth is free. It'll set you free. Okay? Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later in my daily news wrap-up. And may God bless.